hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Listen here, mission control. Einstein was wrong.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. A little Raven there for you, faster than the speed of light. Our guest tonight, John Gallagher of Raven, Matt V. Peppe from Royal Hell, a great band out of Pennsylvania. We'll be talking to Matt in about a half hour. We got a great show for everybody tonight. We're going to get on as much music as we can. We have a lot of guests on this month, maybe more than usual, because it is our 14th anniversary month. Next week, as a matter of fact. So we kind of overloaded the weeks with guests. So we'll get on as much music as we can. And we'll kind of keep the chit-chat down to a minimum because we have a lot of talking to do. So, a very sad day here in New York and throughout, the whole country, 9/11. 21 years. I remember I was working on that day downstairs from the Trade Center on Church and Vesey Street. Went home about 7 o'clock that morning, and about an hour and a half later, my phone was ringing, and I was being told to come back into work. And I saw what happened on the news. Got my kids from school, who were still young at the time, brought them home. My parents were with them. I went back into the city. I worked for the utility company here in New York, and I was on that pile from the first day until almost a year later, working 12-hour shifts. And I wound up getting colon cancer from down there, but I guess that's nothing compared to all the people that lost their lives that day and years later from getting sick. At least I lived and survived it. But I'll never forget that day. The smell from down there, the smell, it stays in my nose till now. It's just something you can't forget and get rid of. I mean, that first night down there was a nightmare. Walking around and there were body parts on the floor, and I remember an FBI agent giving me a side panel of the airplane to hold while he went to get somebody else to help him carry it and tag it. And the things we saw were just horrific, and I wish that upon nobody. It was absolutely a terrible day in this country, and for all the people that said they won't forget, I know a lot of them have, but put on the news in the morning, especially on 9/11, to see the tributes to all the people that died that day and everything that went on down there. I get a little tongue-tied when I talk about it. It's not that easy, so we're going to move on from that. But to do a little tribute to that, how about we play some Hades? This is a song called Ground Zero, New York City, and I actually think this came out the year before that actually happened. So was it prophetic? I don't know, but here you go, some Hades.
blind man, I'm trying to see. I feel like a child who had done wrong and was left to be. Yes, I can see that I'm not good enough. Or is it just a memory that's haunting me? Your love has grown cold. Years roll by, I find ways to change. Dues, I think I've been paid. And sometimes I think I am. Ma, going insane. Oh, it's a winding road. I hope you come walking through the door. Your love has grown cold. Can it be that I'm not good enough? No. We used to have it so good. The time was right. I can see you have just cursed me with your love, with your love, with your love.
All right, I know the big news this week in England was the Queen passing away, but you know why? We lost another rock royalty, and that was Clutch Carruthers, the original singer for Tyson Dog. He was on every Tyson Dog record from the beginning. Clutch passed away. Tyson Dog just released their latest record, Midnight, and Clutch is singing on it, but before the album came out, you know, they announced that he had left the band. Obviously, it was because he was sick, and I guess couldn't continue doing it, so... You know, he passed away, I think, the other day, or maybe it was last night. I don't remember, to be sure with you. Getting a little screwed up over here with the time zones today, trying to get everything in order. But Clutch was a great singer, like I said, on every record. And the new Tyson Dog record, Midnight, is no different than the other ones. It's getting mixed reviews by people. I think a lot of people want to hear them do the stuff they did in the beginning. But that's not what the band is anymore. And it does have that classic sound to it. It's just a more modern, updated version of that. So maybe we'll get on something off the brand new record to pay a little tribute to Clutch. You know, the song is called Waiting for God, so it's kind of apropos that that's the song on the record that we're going to play. And maybe we'll get on one more song after that if we have time. Then we're going to jump into some brand new Royal Hell off their latest record that's about to be released from Heaven to Hell at the end of the month. And we'll get Matt on the phone right after that. We'll talk to John Gallagher in the second half of the show. But right now, here's Tyson Dog, Waiting for God.
We faced eternal darkness, so we found a cure for death. And we hatched a plan so that mortal man could delay his final breath. We sought to cheat the Reaper without ever asking why. But we got a little more than we bargained for when we chose to never die. Waiting for God, waiting for God. The gift of life eternal transpired to be a curse. As the deal turned sour, every waking hour felt like time was in reverse. The choir sang hallelujah as we looked towards the sky. But we got a little more than we bargained for when we chose to never die. Waiting for God, waiting for God, waiting for God, waiting for God. For God, waiting for God. We sought to cheat the Reaper without ever asking why. But we got a little more than we bargained for when we chose to never die.
You can't straight your future.
right, that was the title track of Royal Hell's first record, Higher Court. I was going to play something off the new record, but I figured I'll save that until after the interview. We'll get on some songs off the second record. We'll talk about that with Matt right now. So let me get him on the line over here. We've been doing pretty good each week, connecting everybody. So let's hopefully it'll be like that again today.
What's up, man?
How you doing, Matt? You're live on the air. How are you today?
Yeah, what's up, Mike? Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I have to tell you, Jeremy from Heaven and Hell turned me on to you guys, and I'm like, I really regret not finding out about you guys a little earlier, but I guess I'm still kind of there in the beginning, even though it's been 6 years since the band got together.
Yeah, we're still, it's strange with COVID and everything. It still feels like we're somewhat newer in a weird way. We kind of got shut down there for a couple years.
Yeah. Well, it did kind of happen not long after the first record came out. I mean, within that year.
Yeah, we put the record out in November. We had a bunch of shows lined up, and December, I guess it was about 4 months, they started shutting everything down. And it was such a bummer. And it was just, we're actually in Northeast Pennsylvania, so we're not too far from you, but our area, it just shut down. Everything was, we played a couple shows through those 2 years, smaller things, but before that we opened for DRI. We opened up for Anti-Flag. We're kind of versatile, so we could play with punk bands, metal bands, rock bands. We played for opened for Doc, and everything was going so good, and then COVID came and just kind of shut it down. But we're hoping with this new record we can kind of get back out there.
Absolutely. You talk about verse. I mean, how's the crowd when you're opening for DRI and then a day later you're opening for Dokken? You're talking about night and day as far as music goes.
Yeah, for real. We have we're fortunate enough that we're kind of a strange band in the sense that we all grew up on metal. You know what I mean? That thrash metal is basically our hearts. But we also love classic rock and punk, and I don't know, we're just fortunate enough that we're pretty open-minded, and we were able to write in different genres, so we kind of could make set lists that kind of, are able to reflect the shows we're playing to an extent. But I don't know, we just make it work,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, you are old things to everybody when you think about it, because there is such a great mix of sound and genres and styles in your music, but yet it's all cohesive, and that, I think, is the hard part.
Yeah, we just make it flow somehow. Our drummer Rob, he's just amazing. He's kind of like the backbone. He just keeps that beat going no matter what we're doing. He just has that beat rolling. And his brother Davey's the bass player, so they're like always locked in. And Gene, our guitar player, we sometimes call ourselves like metal hippies because we grew up with like the Doors and the Stones, and we love all that, but we also grew up worshiping Metallica and Slayer. So it's a nice mix, I guess. It's weird though. We found that some people are like, they're not metal enough, and then some of the older heads are a little, then we're a little too fast sometimes. So I don't know, but we do what we love.
That's all you can do. If you're not writing what comes out of your heart and what you feel is the right thing to do, it'll never be right and never sound right. I think what you guys have done so far has just been amazing. And going back to 2019,
Thank you.
Your first record, Higher Court, you guys did this all on your own. I mean, what are the challenges today for a band without a label trying to get the release out there? I mean, social media helps, but how hard is it to do that on your own?
It's tough, not going to lie. The only thing that kind of prepared us to really we had a little bit of a springboard of just because we've been doing it for 20 years and we made all the mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, I really tried this time to, instead of focusing on local, I just kind of shot for the stars and tried to connect with people, outside of here. And but really just making the mistakes. I wish I could go back when I was like 18 when I started doing it, and you live and learn. But yeah, it's not easy. I do feel bad for some of the younger bands. And then now it's like I always kid that it's like everybody's in a band. You know what I mean? And it's like the competition is crazy. You know what I mean? And the competition for people's attention, because it's just like between the TV and the phones and video games, and it's tough. It's tough for anybody to even find time to listen to music.
It's true.
But,
I mean, as a musician, does it make it harder on you because you feel you have to write something that's going to draw them in right away, or you're going to lose them?
In the beginning of my career doing music, we would try in different bands, try to, write things that we were thinking about the audience. But honestly, with Royal Hell, we just seriously just do what we want. It's one of those, I feel like it's hard. How could you not like it? Because if you listen to our shit, it's just Misfits and Tool and Metallica. We just kind of pour everything in the pot. And like you said, we're just fortunate enough to make it cohesive enough that it's crazy. Everybody that listens to it seems to love it, but trying to get it out to the larger audience, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
But we just kind of do, we just do what we want, and we don't really think about, trying to please anybody, because you can't please anybody anyway.
Absolutely. Well, I like what you said. Like you said, I'm not thinking local. This time I'm going to go, I guess, global. Go for everything, and the internet does allow you to do that. So now you're concentrating on a global audience or a worldwide audience because you have that ability by putting your songs up on the internet. But you still really kind of have to focus locally for your live shows, because at first, you need to start where you are and branch out, maybe state by state, and then try to get on some festivals. I mean, Northeast Pennsylvania. I mean, I can think of Beyond Fallen and maybe Forgotten Legacy came from that area a few years back. Other than that, there weren't that many bands in the scene. How is it today?
It is a very interesting place. Beyond Fallen's great. We were fortunate enough to play with those guys a couple times. There's a lot of people that love metal around here, but there was never really like there was a huge club scene, but not really for metal specifically. We actually this area was influenced more, I would say, by New York hardcore. If you remember, like CC's and Cafe Metropolis, Home Base, like hardcore in the 90s was so big in New York that the ripple effect came here and influenced a lot of this area. Metal not so much. However, now it's weird because we have Carl Kennedy lives up in Scranton pretty much, and Motionless in White is from Pittston. I don't know if that's not definitely straight metal, but we Breaking Benjamin. It's crazy. Our area has all these bands, but we don't have a lot of venues anymore, so it's strange. So much talent is here, and now COVID, the couple venues that existed, COVID shut them down. So yeah, it's wild. We're hoping once we get going to kind of hit Philly, maybe New York City, possibly try to branch out a bit.
Yeah, that would be great. Going through the first record, High Court, that opening number all night, every time I hear that riff just cuts right through me. I mean, I think it's one of the greatest guitar riffs ever. And, when I hear something like that, I'm like, wow. I mean, that's like what draws me into a band. I mean, the next 9 songs will be okay, but I'll keep playing them over and over again until I learn to like them. But that opening riff of that song just drew me right into you guys the first time I heard it.
No shit. Yeah. Our guitar player, Gene, he's something else. I don't know where he pulls some of the riffs from. Crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody said had like a Merciful Fate sound, that riff.
You know, it kind of does. It kind of does. But I can find a lot of influence in your music, yet I see a lot of originality, and I think it's a great combination of both. Like I said earlier, it's not an easy thing to accomplish today. It's hard to be original with so many things out there going on, and you were talking about like how much music there is out there and the competition. But do you think there's so much out there that it kind of dilutes the scene and the importance of a band being signed to a label because anybody with a guitar and $100 piece of recording equipment can make an album today?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I always kid. It's like my grandmother's in a band, my dog's in a band, everybody's in a band now. So it is, competition is crazy. But what you're saying, that's what helps us though, because like I try to listen to all music. I love all music, but like take like metalcore, like there's hundreds of those bands, but not to disparage them, but a lot of it sounds the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's but yeah, it is strange. There's so many bands out there now that everybody has the access, and with the internet, people like everybody is like way more proficient than they were back in the day. So everybody's good. It's just it's hard to really climb to the top now, when there's just so much out there for people to soak in. But we can't complain, we definitely can't complain. Cause all things considered, sometimes even like this with John from Raven coming on, that's like crazy. Like I just had my Raven records out the other week, and it's just I don't know, we have some luck on our side or something.
Yep.
That we're able to kind of sort of sneak through.
You're doing a good job, believe me. And more importantly, a couple of weeks away from the second record coming out on Heaven and Hell Records. Jeremy's a great guy and puts out these top-notch releases, and the packaging is beautiful. Second Sight of the Grand Seer. Love the title right off the bat. Completely different than anything else out there. I mean, how do you compare this record to the first one now? I mean, I can hear it. I see there's even a bigger, evolvement from the first one to this one. But how do you look at the two records, compared them side by side?
I'd say like 50% of it is pretty like, stay in the course, very, if you like the first record, you should like this one. But then the other 50%, we definitely were able to like expand on some stuff. We have like a bluesy rock song called Risen that we love, and we finally recorded that for this record. So that's going to be, I'm kind of interested to see what people think of that, because it's not metal at all, I mean, it's heavy, but it's just heavy blues. So we definitely kind of stretched out into some, even further down into other genres. So that should be interesting. But I think they're definitely from the same tree. I don't like, bands that like they'll put a record out that's like completely different. And I know when like Metallica put Load out, I remember almost crying. I didn't understand what
you and
happened.
a million other people.
I mean it. Like, the Black Album was different, but I was still able to swallow that one. But when Load came out, oh my God, I just didn't even know, like, I didn't know what to think. It like ruined like months of my life. And then St. Anger came out.
I know. I couldn't
Lord.
agree with you anymore. I mean, I felt that way back in the 80s when Def Leppard came out with Pyromania and then Hysteria, because, I had loved those first two records. And then I remember 25 years later, they were on some interview show, and the guy was like, your fans don't really care for, like, music. They like the first two records. And and somebody said, but what? After all these years, you earned the right to kind of do what you want to do. You made your bones. So I kind of like to go by that today. But as a fan, I'm like, all right, I want to hear, High and Dry again, and I want to hear, I want to hear Whiplash, and I want to hear Motor Breath. I want to hear those songs again from Metallica. But it just isn't going to happen,
I mean, my thing is, like, if you're going to do something totally different, like, just change the name. Just put it out under a different name, and then you can do whatever you want. But when you're using the same name, it's kind of just like a middle finger to your fans.
Yeah.
I don't know. I crushed, man, when they did that. I am very happy though. I think this last record was awesome. I really do. I think if they put the double and just stripped it into a single, it would have been even better.
True.
I was really happy with it, man.
I think getting rid
happy
of
with their
Bob
new
Rock
tour
was a
last
big
one.
help too. I think Bob Rock took them down the wrong road.
Yeah, and I know we're out like my whole life has just been like everything is just compared to Metallica, but you know the truth is without them I wouldn't even be doing music. You know.
Absolutely. Well, we were talking about the second record coming out. How did you hook up with Heaven and Hell?
So, that's what I guess I could have said this in earlier questions. Honestly, the internet is huge, but Facebook, I'm friends with so many different people through Facebook, and I think years ago I became friends with Jeremy, and I forget exactly how, but he actually, him and Gary from Heaven and Hell, they actually helped us get some higher court out there. You know, they got it to Underground Power in Germany and Killigan Records in Brazil, so that was awesome. So, you know, signing with them completely, it made total sense. You know, they believed in us from the first album, and they kind of made a dream come true for me, you know, for 20 years trying to get a label to release my music, and now our music with Royal Hell, it was a dream come true. So I'm forever grateful to those guys for believing in us, you know.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about a record I heard you put out about a year or so ago, maybe a little longer than that. The Italian School of Poison. Tell me about that record.
Oh my gosh. So I'm Italian, pretty much 100%. I actually finally went to Italy right before COVID for my first time. Went to Rome, took the train down to Naples. Amazing, beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, being Italian in northeastern Pennsylvania, I mean, I guess not anymore, but when I grew up, you know what I mean, your heritage, ancestry, whatever was pretty big around here. And I just always felt good about being Italian. It was kind of just part of who I am. And when I was coming up with a name, that's my solo music. I play a little acoustic guitar, and I don't even know, to be honest, I don't even know where things come to me. I think there was actually historically like a group of, you know, Italy's history and Rome's history is so immense. There was actually people that poisoned like kings and queens, maybe in the Middle Ages, and it was called like I think that was actually called like the Italian School of Poisoners or something like that, something in that effect. And I heard it and just kind of just latched onto it. And I can't lie, when I was a little kid, I did like Poison, the band Poison, when I was really young. So I don't know. I think maybe, I'm sure that kind of played a part in it. You there?
Matt, you there?
Did I lose you?
Yeah, it's okay. It was only for a couple of seconds. I was going to say, listening to like, you know, what you're talking about that Italian story, it sounds like you're a history buff.
A little bit, yeah. As I get older, you know, it's funny. I was the kid that never wanted to read a book, and now as I get older, I'm kind of trying to look at everything I could get my hands on, you know.
That's what happens.
But yeah, Italian School of Poison, just kind of my solo stuff. I haven't really done much with that. We've been so busy with Royal Hell. But I'm sure someday I'll kind of get back to that. I'd love to put out an official release with that because I have so many songs, you know, just personal songs. But, you know, as we get older, everything is just time, time and money.
True. I'd like to hear that too one day, so I hope you can get it out there. We'd love to hear what you did with that. And, you know, going back to Royal Hell, I mean, did you guys all know each other before the band? Were you friends? I mean, when are you guys in Devoloka together?
Yes. So the drummer Rob, we're all from Exeter, actually, is the actual town. So we all kind of went to school. We're not all the same age, but we kind of went to the same high school. and we always knew each other. You know, everybody that's like a musician in our area, we all pretty much know each other because it's not that big of an area. So when we were looking for a drummer for my first band, Amarea, Rob came into the picture. And so that was Amarea. This is like early 2000s. That's when I met him. Then that didn't work out. Went into another band. Didn't really talk to Rob for a while. And then he started jamming with this Anthony kid, Anthony Turco, and he talked me into it because I kind of swore off being in bands many times because all the ups and downs, and I was trying to finish school and work and everything else. But when I went in, Anthony and Rob were jamming, and Davey, I couldn't say no to it. So then Devil Loco was born. This was like 2012. We did that for about 2 years. We had a pretty good run with that, but life happened and things happened, and that kind of fell apart. And I kind of swore off being in bands again. And then Rob was playing in a band with Eugene, and they were begging me, please come. You got to check us out. We've been writing some songs. Please come and hang out and just sing a little bit. And I'm like, Rob, I can't do it again, but they talked me into it. I went down. The first song we ever wrote was called Saturn, and that's on this new record. We actually released that as one of the 2 songs we released already. It was the first song we ever wrote as Royal Hell. And as soon as I heard Gene playing guitar, I always wanted to be in like a straight up metal band. And Gene is more of a metal guitar player. Everybody I've ever played with is amazing, and they're all better musicians than me. But Gene was like, to play like metal riffs, like you say yourself, And as soon as I heard them playing, I'm like, well, I guess I'm in a band again. and Royal Hell was born, and no regrets though, man. Out of anything I've done in 20 years, Royal Hell has had the most success, with opening up for, bands I listened to as a little kid. Got to open with some of them, and we put Higher Court out. People in other countries heard it and liked it, and it's just, it doesn't even feel real sometimes, We're hoping with this record it just kind of goes even further.
Yeah, it should. I mean, the area you come from, is it hard to find people to play with, to put bands together with? I mean, you guys sort of like all crossed paths and knew each other over the years, so eventually you found each other and put this together. But for other people, is there a wealth of like musicians in the area that you could draw from to start a band with, or are you really going to have to look outside?
There surprisingly is. Like I said, the talent pool in Northeast Pennsylvania, it's actually unreal. I've said it in the past sometimes. Like, I think you could put this area up against like actual cities in terms of talent. The only problem is trying to find some, like, I guess this could be said for anywhere in the world, trying to find people that want to do the same stuff. That's the trouble. Everybody kind of wants to do something a little different. And so it's like cliquey around here, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, but luckily, like, I played with Rob and Davey before in Devil Loca, and Rob before that. And then I used to actually skateboard with Gene. So I knew him from skateboarding when I was a kid. Yeah, it's strange. It kind of feels like fate. I guess that's cliche, but this whole band and everything we've done, it feels like there's something behind us that kind of propels us,
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's billions of bands out there, and we kind of got some people to pay attention,
Musically, did everything kind of fall into place when you guys got together? Did you have, like, an idea of where you wanted the band to go, or was there a lot of give and take? As you said, like, finding people to play with that all have the same vision is the hard part. Did you guys all have that same vision before it started, or did you kind of have to, like, work it out between the 4 of you to come up with that sound, or was it kind of there from the very beginning?
Yeah, no, it was there, I think that's the thing that makes it a little easier for us. Like, we're all kind of the same in terms of we all loved Metallica, Misfits, Tool, Black Sabbath. We love classic rock. yeah, it was pretty easy, you know. The only thing tough for us is just, you know, getting the time to get together, and we could. I don't say this to anybody who knows me knows I'm very modest. I don't say this to brag or anything, but we could just Gene just play a riff, and poof, before you know it, we write a song. You know, not that it's the greatest song in the world, but we'll write things, and it's like they just come out of nowhere, and we look at each other like, what's happened? Like, where's this coming from even? But yeah, I think it's just because we all have the same influences. We all kind of want to do the same thing for the most part. Yeah, it's something else. I definitely feel like this is a band that nobody could be replaced. You know what I mean? I don't think it would work even if we lost Davey or Gene or Rob or anybody. You know, I think this is the four of us, and
well, that's the hard part, is keeping the band together today. And people think it's like, you know, the guys don't get along, they're fighting. Most of the time, it's not really the case. It's, you know, it's things aren't happening fast enough. They're not going anywhere. Bands that get management involved have issues. I mean, so there's a lot of things that break up a band. It's just like 2 or 3 guys not getting along with each other. I mean, but the fact that you guys are friends, you've known each other a long time, does that work in your favor as being in the band because you know each other so well?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I sometimes wonder, like, I know a lot of bands that are, you know, professional musicians, you know, a lot of them are just, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but it's like a job, you know what I mean? Like they might not even be really that friendly. But when the tour comes, they get together, they rehearse, they go out on the road. And that's weird. You know, we're all like brothers or something, you know what I mean? It's like, we do it with, you know, we don't make any money doing it. So we do it because we love it and because we want to do it. I mean, you know, I would love to be able to make a career doing music, but it's nice when the money's not there because you're doing it to love it. You're not doing it for any other reason.
Do you think the money convolutes the music business?
I think the money, yeah. I think the money ruins everything, to be honest. I really do. I mean, it's great, you know, people need to eat and live, and I wish, you know, if I was able to make a salary doing it, it'd be nice because I'd have more time to do it. But then it is your job, you know, and I think as soon as and then the money, man, you know, that money ruins everything because somebody's getting too much, somebody's not getting enough. And the other thing I learned is, you know, a lot of people don't understand, most bands are run by just really one person, you know, maybe 2. And there's always like a jealousy thing, and then you put money and jealousy together and forget about it.
Yep. It causes a lot of problems. But, you know, and yeah, I mean, yeah. It's great to say, you know, I'm in a 4-piece, a 5-piece band, and everybody's got an equal say. But then, you know, when you're in that band, you also know that sometimes it's better off when there's one person kind of guiding the ship. I mean, that doesn't mean like he rules like a dictator, but, you know, you always have, like, you know, look at Metallica. You know, Lars was the guy that promoted that band, you know, got them to where they were, basically. You know, James was the backbone, but, you know, Lars was the guy behind everything as far as Metallica goes.
Yeah, and that's the thing I seem to be learning more now, that a lot of bands are like that, you know. I think I lead with, you know, trying to network for us, but in terms of the music, it's even those guys, you know what I mean? Like, I'm lucky to even play with them because they're good, man, you know. I'm just thankful they let me sing for them. I'm not the world's best singer. I just love it. I just love music. It's never let me down. It's always been there for me, you know, and it's one of the only things I could say from when I was 5 years old. Now I'm in my early 40s. It's just the only thing that's been constant. And it's just, love it. Love it.
Well, that's a good thing. You know, man, I have to ask you, Glenn Drover, how did you hook up with Glenn or getting Glenn involved on the song Destroyer?
It crazy. Once again, Facebook. Sometimes I'm friends with these people, and I think, is this even like a real person? But I became friends with them on Facebook. You know, we chatted a little bit through, you know, just different posts and stuff, and I kind of just hit him up and took a chance and said, yo, we're making this record. love your playing. That guy's career, oh my God, like to be in King Diamond, not even mentioning his band with his brother. Name's escaping me right now, but they were already phenomenal before he was even in King Diamond, and then he was in Megadeth. He toured with Testament, I think, for a couple tours. He is he's probably one of the best guitar players ever, in my opinion. But I just asked him, I said, Glenn, we're doing this record, man. I couldn't think of anybody more perfect to, we're looking for somebody to do a solo on this, and he agreed to do it. And the guys didn't even believe me. They think I'm just blowing smoke sometimes. But yeah, like I said again, I feel like there's something behind us that's kind of making things happen. As weird as that might sound, I don't know any other way to explain it. So, but wait till you hear the solo. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've heard
the only
it. It's
bad
great.
thing is it's like I worry that might be the best thing on the record, but
no, don't think that.
The record's good. The record's good.
It
man.
is.
But yeah, we're thrilled. I can't. I mean, it's all dreams come true. I can't. I mean, I put 20 years into it, so I don't want anybody to think like I've been in bands that played for one person, got booed. I've been through all of it, so I paid my dues, but it still feels like a dream come true with like I said, the bands we've played with, having Glenn on the record, Jeremy and Gary believing in us enough to put us out. It's wild,
It really is. Matt, I'm not going to keep you. I want to play a couple of songs off the new record. The band that he was in with his brother, I think, was Edelin, something like that. Edelin.
Yes.
Yeah, that was it.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm going to play a couple of songs. The new record, Second Side of the Grand Sierra, comes out in 2 weeks, I believe, on Heaven and Hell Records. We're going to promote the hell out of it the best we can. Do you guys have anything coming up in the near future you want to mention?
As of right now, we don't, but I promise I will let you know. We're hoping as soon as this releases September 30th, last Friday of this month, and we're hoping then from there we're going to kind of build on it and hopefully get a couple cool shows. We'd love to come out to New York. I don't know if anything's going on out that way, but we'd love to get out there and play.
We got a bunch of clubs that have been up and rolling now for the last few months, and more coming back on. So maybe I could reach out to some people I know that are promoting over here and try to get you guys on a bill. But I'm in Pennsylvania with my wife all the time, so the next time you guys are playing somewhere, I'm going to try to make it up there and see you guys.
Absolutely, man. We'd love to see you in person for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Matt,
if anybody,
it's been my pleasure.
Just check out the new record, man. Listen to it a couple times because it's a grower. It's, you know what I mean? It's not like people hear it once, they might not get it, but I think a couple times, and I've been listening to it straight through. It's nuts. Usually, you get kind of sick of something, but
yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it more than you know. I'll be in touch.
You got it, man. I'm going to play Destroy next and get into some other songs off the record. So it was great talking with you today. The best of luck with the band, and I promise I will see you guys one of the next times you play.
Awesome. Take care, man.
Take care,
soon.
buddy. Bye-bye, Matt.
Bye.
All right, you know what we're talking about? Destroy. Let's get that on.
Dying with the crowd, shattered bodies,
right, brand new Royal Hell Beware. All right, we're going to talk to John Gallagher in about 10 minutes or so. We'll play a couple more tunes between now and then. You know, I just saw that Dave Lombardo was going to miss, I guess, the first half of the Testament tour because he's committed to playing with the Misfits. Now, Testament made this big thing about guess who the drummer is. And by the way, I told everybody it would be Dave Lombardo long before they announced it. But, you know, they made this big deal out of it. He joins the band. They go out on the first big tour, and he's not going to be there for the first part of the tour. Because he's committed to playing with the Misfits. The band, you know, listen, I love the old Misfits and everything. But, you know, you're in Testament. You made the commitment. They go out on the road to tour. That should be the priority. That's technically your main band right now, not the Misfits. So I don't get it. This is, you know, we talk about this all the time. I'm not going to get into it today because I want to play as much music as I can because after we talk to John, we're going to wrap things up here tonight. But I'm just saying, things like that bother me. You know, a lot of people say, you know what, I can't wait to see Testament on the road. Now they got Dave playing drums with them. It's going to be amazing. You buy your ticket. Well, Dave's not playing because, you know, he's going to go with the Misfits and play. You know, I mean, both bands are playing for the same size crowd, in my opinion. I don't think the Misfits are playing for any bigger audiences than Testament are today, but that's just how I feel. We're going to get on a couple of songs. I'm sorry, I was like on the phone over here. I've been going nuts. Like for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been on this kick about buying the old Mego dolls from the 70s, M-E-G-O, Mego. I mean, when I was a kid, I had all of them. I had like all the superheroes that they came out with. We called them dolls back then. I know later on they changed it for the boys to action figures, but we still called them dolls back then in the 70s. And I had like all the superhero ones, the Planet of the Apes ones. And I remember my mother back then, you know, I had everything packed away in closets in my house. And when I met my wife and moved out, she took everything and gave out. She gave all my stuff for the other little kids in my neighborhood where I grew up. And those kids are walking around with this collector item, Mego dolls and Matchbox cars and everything else. And I'm here on eBay trying to buy dolls I paid $2.99 for probably back then. I'm spending $100 a doll right now. So I just had a bid on one of the Planet of the Apes figures. So I was sorry about that. I was trying to get that in. But let's get back to the music here. How about we do a couple of classic tunes? And then we'll jump right into that interview with Raven. Maybe we'll play a Raven song beforehand, but let's do a little Liege Lord. Email was talking about them in the chat room. They've been laying low for a long while. I mean, I think it was about 7, maybe 8 years ago I saw them play at Defenders of the Old Festival, and they absolutely killed it. Joe Como was a singer with the band these days. I mean, he's been with the band since the third record, going back in time, but they absolutely killed it live. Then, you know, we didn't hear nothing from them. I was talking with them. I was talking with Joe and the other guys in the band. They're like, yeah, we're working on new music right now. We're going to get it out. Nothing happened. But I see now that they've got a bunch of shows lined up. They're heading over, I think, to either Europe or South America right now. They did a couple of local shows. So hopefully new music is coming by the band. I can't wait. They're one of my all-time favorites. And that first record, it's in my top 5 of all-time favorite albums. So off that record, let's do a little Rage of Angels.
What a loss of the secret, all of people's dead.
just a bleed, I'm just a DVD for the chosen. Intensified magnetism purge in through the night. Echo whispers of patience led by your refusal. And all that remain were the leeches scratching for space.
Agent Steel, 144,000 gone. Just like John Cyrus. Gone. All right, you know what? We're going to get to an interview right now with John Gallagher from Raven. They have a new record coming out on the 30th this month. Both guests today have records coming out on the 30th of September. This one is called Leave 'Em Bleeding. It's actually a compilation record that encompasses all of the Steam Hammer years for Raven, which go back to the Extermination record. So we'll get on a song off that record called Destroy Your Monsters, talk to John, play another Raven song, and wrap it up. And don't forget, if I don't talk to everybody after the show, next week, our 14th anniversary show. We have Pat Brown and Keith Hancock from Oblivion on the show live next week, as well as Mantis from Venom and Venom Inc. So don't forget to tune in. We'll probably do a 3-hour show next week. So here you go, Destroy Your Monsters by Raven.
Hey, Mike, I'm good.
It's a pleasure to have you back and talk to you again. I mean, after 2 years of laying low for COVID, you guys really picking up steam in 2022.
Yeah, lots happening. We actually, I think we had to have it was 18 months before we got out and played again. We had the Alcatraz Festival in Belgium back in August of 2021, which was a great festival, but what a pain in the ass getting there and getting back with the airlines not knowing their arses from their elbows.
Yeah,
like
been
we're
hard.
going to the airport and I get a frantic phone call from Mike. They won't let me on the plane because I don't have a COVID test. I'm like, you don't need a COVID test. He goes, I know that. That's their rules, and the people at the desk don't understand that. So you had to sign something saying if I get the other end and they won't let him in, it's not their fault. And of course, when he got the other end, they didn't care. So it was all stupid. And then we toured. We did the States in 2021 in like October, November, which was really great getting back out again. And very strange playing in a country with restaurants closing at 5 and 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's true. It had to be hard for a band like Raven because really you're known for your live shows. You're known for touring. I mean, you're always on the road when you can be.
Yeah, I mean, that's our bread and butter. And, we'd held off so long with the record we'd done, Metal City, that we ended up saying to hell, we'll put it out in September 2020. This was like, February at the time, saying, yeah, we'll put it out. And hopefully all this nonsense will be gone by then. And of course it wasn't. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's
but
hard.
the only good thing about that was there was no live music, so people were more attentive to new releases. So the album got heard, got a fair shake, and we got probably the best reviews we've ever got, which was awesome.
Yeah,
it's good.
It did get great reviews. But when you think about it, going back to the beginning, I mean, Raven has been one of the most, in my opinion, consistent bands. I mean, I don't know if it's because you know what you like, you know what the fans like, or it's because you and Mark, are basically the core of the whole band as far as the guitar sound goes, rhythm, vocals, and that's what keeps it steady and consistent. I mean, what makes Raven Raven?
Well, it's that combination of the three guys in the band, how we play, how we interact, and the way we do our music. It's a weird hodgepodge of chaos and order, songwriting, and like I say, the crazy elements. And there's obviously a commercial element too. We have a lot of hooks, there's a lot of melody, but there's also a lot of crazy. So all those things have got to be kind of in balance for the magic to happen. And if it's pushed more one way than another too much, then it doesn't really work, And we've kind of honed that down over the years, so we know what the formula is as far as that's concerned, and then the only thing left to do is to push the envelope and see where we can take it. And consistently, I mean, especially since getting back together after Mark's accident in 2001 at this point, yeah. And finally getting Walk Through Fire out, that was like a big planting the flag, going, okay, we're here, and then moving the bar higher with Extermination, and then taking the bar and throwing it over the wall even higher for Metal City. And we've already got the new one in the can, we're waiting to go. We're farting around, we're mixing at the moment, trying to get the best possible guitar sound, and then we're good. We'll get that happening.
That's going to be amazing. But you do have Leave 'Em Bleeding, which is a compilation record coming out September 30th. And this is a little different because you kind of go back over the last 2 or 3 records with this. I mean, it's not like the classics, not the old songs. This is relatively the newer stuff that's being re-released with a lot of bonus tracks on there too, and a live cut.
Yeah, this is kind of, we've moved on. We're moving on to a new record label. We've got a new deal with Silver Lining, who are great outfits out of the UK. They've got Saxon, Uriah Heep, Diamond Head, a whole bunch of bands that are like-minded, as it were, which is, it's really cool. doing a great job for us already, and basically it's doing a lot of social media stuff and that. So they're very attentive on that. We're really looking forward to getting the album with them and getting it out. But SPV did a great job for us over like the last 10, 12 years or what have you. So we thought it was a good idea to put out like a compilation with the high watermarks of those albums, and also collect together all the extra tracks, the B-side, the Japan only tracks that only like a real crazy diehard collector would dig around and find. And also we have there was the track Rock This Town, which was the extra track from Metal City, which is a great rock and roll track. Figured that would be great to put on there. And an unreleased live version of Stay Hard, which we're doing on our American 2017 tour. Really, when Micah joined, we're like, let's do Stay Hard for fun. So it's something we hadn't done in 30, 35 years. So found this really cool live version and figured, hey, let's mix that up. That sounds great. And it, really ties it off with a little red bow there.
That's right. It's going to be great. And what I'm more excited about is 40 years of Wiped Out. You're going out on tour for this record real soon. I'm going to see you guys in Brooklyn, and I think it's October 21st. I'll be there for that show. I can't wait to see you guys again. It's been probably my dozenth time seeing you guys. But Wiped Out to me was an important record because that was the first record I ever bought by Raven back in 1982. So it holds a little special spot in my heart, So going out on this tour, I mean, I know a lot of bands go on, they do the entire album start to finish. Is that the plan for this tour?
Yeah, the only thing that's a little questionable there, I don't think I'm taking an acoustic guitar out and doing 2021. Although it is possible I could play it on the bass, and I'm fooling around with that. So, maybe I'll play 3 notes and go, you don't need to hear an acoustic piece on this. Let's go.
That'll work.
So, strictly speaking, we may just pass that little part by. If I bring an acoustic guitar on the road, it'll probably turn into sawdust after a few cases banged around in our truck.
Probably.
I'm not taking it out. It'll get damaged. They're too fragile.
That's right.
But other than that, yeah, we'll start off the set and play 3 or 4 songs, and then it's like, here we go, and fasten the speedo lights, and bring the hammer down, firepower to the limit. There's probably 3 or 4 songs that were never ever played live off that album. And you got Battle Zone, you've got To the Limit, To the Top. I don't believe we ever did UXB. So there you go. There's 3 songs that were never played live. It'd be a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
And we just have to refresh our brains, and Mike's got his work cut out learning them right now.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
we'll meet in the middle.
Well, Mike has to learn that.
It'll be fun.
Mike will have to learn all the songs you don't play, but even you and Mark, I mean, a lot of those songs have been played over the years in your live set here and there. But like you said, when's the last time you did play a lot of those songs? Do you really have to go back and say, how the hell do I play that song? I mean, I don't remember how it goes.
Yeah, you kind of do. I mean, I occasionally go over this stuff just to keep it in my brain, and I did, rather than him just listen to the record, I did a bunch of scratch tracks. I did vocal, bass, and guitar, and sent it to Mike, so he can really separate what's going on. It's better that way than, hearing the production of Wiped Out from 1982 and going, what the hell is happening here? Because you don't know, at points, you don't know what's bass and what's guitar. It's all over. But that album's got a special place in my heart. We did the whole damn thing, plus the Crash Bang Wallop tracks, the EP tracks, recorded and mixed in 6 days, which is insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And not to mention that at least 2 of the tracks were written in the studio during that. Like Battle Zone came up from Fresh Air, and half of To the Limit, To the Top was written in the studio. So, we were on a roll. So it all came together great. We were just trying to be as intense and over the top as possible. And there's just some really, really cool songs, which is, at the end of the day, it's all about the songs, you know? So,
It really is. I mean, when you look back at your whole catalog, and it's so extensive, I mean, there's always that one album that a band says kind of defines their career, or the one album that they felt, kind of broke them and made it. A lot of bands will say it's the first record if that's the one for them. Sometimes it is the second or third one. But to you, what album do you think says this is who we are? We finally, because if you went back to like 1974-5 when the band formed, I mean, what did Raven sound like back then? I mean, that was before you had the core lineup of the three of you back then in the early days. I mean, what did Raven sound like in the very beginning? Was that the same as the Rocket Till You Drop Raven, the Wiped Out Raven, the All for One Raven?
well, to a degree, yes, and to a degree, no. I mean, we put out a box set this year of the Rock Until You Drop album, and it's a 4 CD set. So there's a couple of live concerts. There's the album with all the associated B-sides and extra tracks that came out then, and there's also 2 sets of demos. One demo is the demo that was an audition demo for Neat Records, and we do Don't Need Your Money, we do Wiped Out, and we do, I think it's Let It Rip. And you can hear the arrangement differences right there, where we ramble on and put some extra riffs in and stuff. And our first producer, Steve Thompson, instrumental in teaching us, don't bore us, get to the chorus, and cut stuff out if it's just going, you don't need it. So you'll hear parts that were in Wiped Out that we cut out that were cool parts. We're just like, we don't need that. So that's interesting to hear that. And also there's a demo that I finally found. I thought it was lost forever, from 1978, with like 7, 8 songs on. And, a couple of them you can hear where we're going to go, and a couple of them are almost hippy-dippy. They're like weird. And, hey, we were kids. We were finding our way. And this was just a 4-track studio. We went in and banged them out, basically for our own, to listen back and critique ourselves more than to, send it out to somebody, which was probably a good thing. But historically, it's great to hear. You hear the beginnings, and then you hear where we got to, But to get back to your first question, which is an album that defines it, well, that's like asking to choose between your kids. A lot of them are all landmarks, and a lot of people are very much either the first, second, or third. And I would go along with that. Especially, I think, the third album, where we literally took control, which is what the song was about, and just said we want to work with a real producer, we want to work in a real studio, and we want to make a good sounding record, And we did that, and it was well received and opened a lot of doors for us. We got to tour America properly. We got to do the whole bunch of cool European stuff, and that did really put us on the map. The other stuff, got us started, but that album really consolidated what we'd done so far.
Yeah. You think about like 75 to 80, Newcastle. I was talking to Jeff Dunn Mantis from Venom yesterday, and we were talking about that whole Newcastle scene, and there were so many bands that came out of that area, in that general time frame, maybe late 70s, early 80s, whether it was Satan or Warrior, Avenger, Tyson Dog, Venom, Adamcraft. I mean, it had to be such a vibrant scene. At least it sounds like it was. Like from the outside, you hear about all these bands, and 90% of them are still together today, playing in one form or another. I mean, how was it back then in the late 70s? A new band getting started. You're kind of creating a sound that really hasn't been heard yet by anybody. I mean, before you guys, around the same time as you guys, was maybe Motorhead and Iron Maiden, and going back before that, maybe Priest and Black Sabbath. So you're kind of creating something basically really out of nothing. And there's a whole scene developing around you. I mean, what was it like back then in that time frame?
Yeah, I mean, we were fans. We still are. We were fans. I mean, we went to see every band that came to town, and that was our, those were our instructional DVDs. Learn how to play guitar or bass. You'd watch bands, see what they did right, figure out what they did wrong, because some bands had come out and they wouldn't go down well. Why didn't they go down well? Why didn't they connect with the audience? You'd learn all this stuff. You'd soak it all up. But as far as the local scene, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the bands you mentioned there really started playing live and stuff once we'd established ourselves, and even to the point where we moved to the States. And, you know, we trailblazed a lot of the stuff of touring around, let's say, Holland. Holland was a hotbed at that point for hard rock. And, you know, a lot of the bands like Avenger he followed on with that, and he went and did that, you know, after kind of like pretty much when we'd went to the States, they started doing that whole European thing. And of course, Venom famously didn't play any gigs until like maybe 84, 85. So the bands that were out there, it was a real mishmash. When we first started, we were playing working men's clubs, and you'd always have these bands. I mean, we'd be playing 50% covers, 50% original. You know, we'd try and get away with it, and basically did, because, you know, the committee at the club couldn't distinguish between one noisy song and another. It worked out in our favour. But you know, we'd be on these bills playing pubs with a band, and they'd be playing like Black Magic Woman and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Very, very more what we'd call pub band or college band. And it wasn't hard rock or heavy metal by any stretch. So we really stuck out. We were the hooligans of the scene, very much so. And, you know, a lot of fans gravitated towards that and started their own bands. You know, like I mentioned Avenger, you know, Gary Young, great drummer, he got, you know, him and Swifty and whoever, and they put their band together and did that, you know. And it really started to kick off with that whole declaring it a new wave of British heavy metal. We were very lucky in the fact that there was a label in Newcastle, which is, for the uninitiated, 250 miles or so northeast of London. And maybe 30 miles north of London, there's an imaginary line where record companies and A&R people would never cross. Because it's like, you know, they be barbarians. We don't go there. We don't deal with those people. So it'd be the equivalent of, you know, growing up and starting a rock band in Alaska. You know, you're not anywhere near Los Angeles or New York, so they wouldn't give a shit. It wouldn't happen. So it was all very organic, all these bands in the different parts of the country where they were just playing for the love of playing. And then, you know, the Tigers of Pantang, another local band, they sent the single down to the Sounds magazine, which was one of the weekly, there was weekly music magazines in England back then, imagine that. And they reviewed it and loved it, and it started to sell. So, you know, their manager came to see one of our shows and said, "Hey, you guys want to put a single out on each?" Well, yeah, that would be great. And it got played on Radio 1, the major radio in the UK. Yep. John Peel was this DJ, and his main thing was playing new music. He didn't care if he liked it or hated it. It was a new record. He would play it and let the people decide. So he played Don't Need Your Money, our first single, and Ozzy heard it and said, "I want these guys to open for me. I love that." So we, you know, from playing the clubs within a couple of months, it's like, boom, we're playing with Ozzy, we're playing with Whitesnake, we're playing with Motorhead, we're playing with Iron Maiden. And we were off.
It's amazing. Things like that today I don't think could ever happen anymore. And when you think about, you know, the 80s, there was no internet, no social media, no Facebook or Twitter. You know, you mailed out a letter. It took weeks to get there sometimes, especially if it was overseas. But yet I feel like bands had an easier time establishing themselves and making their bones, whether it was through live performances or, you know, we traded tapes back then and stuff like that. And it seems like with as simplified as things are today, it seems to be harder for bands to get established. And maybe it's just the music industry or business in general that's causing that, and not just, you know, the scene itself. But it seemed like it was much easier for bands to get established back in the 80s than it is today.
Well, I don't know if it was ever easy, and I don't think it's necessarily harder now than it was then, but it's certainly different.
Yeah,
it's a completely, you know, the industry in inverted commas, by and large, doesn't exist. You know, when we used to be on Atlantic, we'd go to visit 30 Rockefeller Plaza in Manhattan, and it was, like 15 floors of people for Warner, Elektra, Atlantic. I would imagine now it's like one guy in a cupboard.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, there's no way. I mean, yeah, there would have been huge downsizing once, the whole computer internet thing took hold, and they just wouldn't have required that kind of manpower. But once the digital genie was let out of the bottle with the whole Napster thing and all that, it literally just destroyed these people overnight, and made it very difficult for bands because a large part of their income kind of disappeared. I mean, we joke that we're in the T-shirt business, and our promotional items are CDs. But there's a slight amount of truth in that, where obviously it used to be the other way around. But we're very lucky in the fact that this music, your broad swath of heavy metal or hard rock, what have you, people want the physical product. They want a vinyl, or they want a CD, or in some cases they still want a cassette. Crazy. But they don't want to download. They don't want a faceless download. They want to be able to look and see the lyrics and read who did what and who the producer was and where was it recorded. That whole immersive experience of sitting down and listening and reading through the booklet. And that's, a magical thing that was in danger of disappearing. But I think with especially with the resurgence in vinyl, it's come back, and it's great seeing young kids getting into that, because
I never thought it would come back.
Music is it's sacred. It really is. It really speaks to people across all kinds of barriers and languages and socio-economic status. A great song will reach everybody.
That's true.
And it's just, it changed our lives, music. It really did. And we try to put out every day, everything we do. It's we never forget that, and we're very humbled by that. And it's something that, every show we do is 110%, and especially because we're old farts now, like every show we do could be the last one. So we're definitely
does it get harder as the years go on? Because I mean, I've seen you guys live so many times over the last 4 decades, and you always come out like you're a bunch of 20-year-old kids. I mean, I watch you guys and I get tired. I'm just standing there, and I'm like, oh my god, it's amazing that the show you guys still put on. I mean, and you go back to your brother's accident. I mean, people that don't know about that in 2001, that was a really, really bad. I mean, that was a serious car accident. I mean, did you think that you guys ever got to come back from that?
It wasn't actually. I mean, it's the whole thing kind of started with a car accident, but it was actually a building fell on top of him. He had a very large building that wasn't braced properly. No,
oh my god!
He went to pick up money off someone who owed him money, and it was at a job site, and he couldn't wear the hard hat because of the car accident he'd had a day before, which put a big egg on his head. So he just had a baseball cap on, and the wind blew the hat off, and he went after the hat, and the wind blew the hat again, and he went after the hat, and then the wall fell down and landed on his legs. If he hadn't had the car accident with a lump on his head, he would have been under the wall, and we wouldn't be talking about this now. He'd be dead.
Yeah.
As it is, this gigantic wall fell on his legs, took both his feet off, twisted his knees terribly, removed one calf muscle completely off his leg, a piece of metal rebar went all the way through the other one. It was horrific, really horrific, and they didn't know whether he would make it. And then it was a case of, we're going to have to remove his legs, which he told them succinctly to go fuck themselves. And then they were going to take the right leg off, and again he told them where to go. And then it was like, well, you'll never walk again. And he proved them all wrong. But it was a long, long, hard road, long recuperation. But by 2005, we were out playing gigs. We did a stretch of like 3 or 4 gigs with him in a wheelchair, which was really difficult, but he wanted to do it. And following that, he was able to get a really big leg brace, and then it turned into a smaller leg brace. Then it turned into just strapping his legs. And it's amazing. I mean, he's still got some residual damage. Right now he's dealing with knee problems and a really bad ankle. It's like bone on bone. So he's getting stem cell treatment and all sorts of stuff. So this tour is going to be pretty brutal on him, but he's a trooper. He's been through it, and he'll make it work.
Oh,
and
I'm sure.
He's excited to get out there. We just played Sao Paulo, Brazil on the weekend, and it was fabulous. It was really cool. Had a good time doing that. Met our old mates Diamond Heads and Bobby Gustafson from Violence, and bunch of cool people there. It was great.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward. And what I read also was that next year you're going out on another big tour. It'll be the 40th anniversary of another record next year.
Yeah, we're doing the
All for
All for One album in the UK, and by definition, probably other places too. And we'll have a new record out, so it'll be What Do We Do? So maybe it'll be All for One plus the new record. Who knows? Or we'll do one and then do the other. But we've got the UK. We've actually got a wrestling cruise with Chris Jericho in February of next year, going out to Miami. So that'll be different.
Yeah, playing on the
only
water.
About 5 or 6 bands on there. Yeah, going kicking ass on the water again. We love doing the cruises. We'll do that. And we're looking at doing Australia and Japan and South America again, and Europe, festivals, tours, and also, like I say, probably a year from now we'll be literally prepping up for another US tour. So it's great. We're happy, and I'm working on getting a box set together. It's all kind of banging together, unfortunately, but I wanted to do one for Whiteout. We're definitely doing one for All for One. I've got amazing content for that, definitely. And we ran into an old friend of ours and sat down and videoed the conversation with James Hetfield just recently up in California, which was really awesome. And he was so down to earth, so complimentary, and it was just a pleasure just sitting down talking to him. But the thing that blew our mind is walking into Metallica HQ and seeing the bass amp and speakers of Burke Shelley from Budgie.
Wow.
It was like, are you kidding me? I saw that equipment in 1975. So it went to a good home. Put it that way.
That it did. Yeah, Joe, when you look back at the 90s, a tough time for metal bands, but you guys had quite a bit of output, and I think those albums were all great in their own right. How do you feel about them when you look back on them today? When you go like maybe from Architects of Fear to Glow to everything louder. I mean, how do you look back on those records today?
I like them. I think they're great records. We were, like you say, it was a tough time. So we did an album in Germany which almost came out Germanic. It was very heavy. And we did a lot of touring there. And then, of course, the grunge poison kind of spread into Germany too. And we were like, okay. So we tried some different stuff on Glow and got a Japanese deal, went over, played Japan, did a live record, came back, things started changing. We ended up doing the Everything Louder album, which was done on a shoestring budget. I wish we could have... it's possible we can remix it at some point. I really like the songs on that. It came out great. And we toured Europe there with Hammerfall and Tank opening up for us. It was the killer tour. We were all set to start recording when Mark had his accident.
Yeah.
So, that kind of put us on the shelf for about 3 or 4 years, definitely, before we could think of just gigging again. And when Walk Through Fire finally came out, like 2009 in Japan and 2010 everywhere else. And then we were back in the saddle at that point.
Absolutely.
But the 90s was tough. There was, You know, I remember that was a perennial thing then, looking for a new record deal. I mean, we were on a lot of labels. You know, we were on a division of SPV for a while. We were on a label called Massacre. We were on Metal Blades, and you know, the industry was being filled with these little punks who were only interested in death metal and thrash metal and regarded us as dinosaurs. But we're still here and they're gone.
That's true. I mean,
that gives me great satisfaction.
It should. I mean, there've been so many changes in the metal world, you know, since you guys got started. I mean, it was just all heavy metal at one time, all just hard rock or just rock, and then so many genres and subgenres came in. Everybody had to seem like they had to be defined by a specific sound. Did you ever feel like you had to fall into that trap?
We're in the Raven genre.
That's it.
There you go. And you know what? If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, fair enough. And that's the way I approach music. There's no boundaries. I'll check out anything. There's very few genres I would say I'm not fond of. I mean, I'm not a rap guy, but I'll appreciate country because of the players and the performances. Those guys can get up, you know, anywhere, and they're perfect. They're so good. They're so, you know, on the nose. You've got to give props for that. But you know, classical, progressive, hard rock, you know, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get into, you know, post-grindcore, apocalyptic, classical, melodic, death, whatever. It's like, if you have to describe your music like that, something's wrong.
That is so true. Oh my goodness. Hey, John, I'm not going to keep you. It's been a long day, and I know the Queen passed away today, so it's a big loss for your hometown, your country.
Yeah,
You've been in America a very long time, but it's
end of an era. I was watching the Jubilee celebrations, and she held it together for that. And if you've ever seen that, there's a hilarious scene where she's sitting having tea with Paddington Bear.
I saw that. It's funny.
She picks her spoon up and starts going dink, 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 dink. And then it cuts to Queen doing We Will Rock You.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious.
She had a sense of humor. We should all live to 96.
No. Yeah. If we all last and do as well as she did, we're doing all right.
That's right. And if we are, you know what? We'll be together for the Metal City 40th anniversary tour in 2060.
Damn straight.
John, it was a pleasure talking with you again, man. I can't wait for the new record, and I will see you next month in Brooklyn, New York. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my 13th time.
Brilliant. We'll see you then.
Take care, John. Great talking to you. Bye-bye, my friend.
Bye.
Hell Patrol. I don't know if you've seen Raven over the last couple of years live, but John is a freak of nature. That guy still sounds the same live today as he did back in the 80s, and just like he did on record. Whatever he's drinking, I want some of that stuff. I want to thank John. I want to thank Matt Pepe for being on tonight's show. I'll see you guys next Sunday night. It's our 14-year anniversary show with Mantis from Venom Inc. and Keith and Pat from Oblivion, the Florida Oblivion from Tampa. Right, let's wrap it up here tonight with a little Leather Nun, Mental Asylum. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday night.
Holding the souls, they're tearing their shackles away. Their stories will never be told.